Okay, new project. Window wipers. So my window wipers work, but boy do they struggle. When the screen is dry, they must take like a second and a half or 2 seconds to sweep across to one side and back. I mean, very slow. They never return. They don't have the strength to return. They stop around here, and I sort of reach out and push them back. And they don't auto return. So needs some work. I'm suspecting that there's some electronics malfunctioned in there, and I'm suspected it's gunked up, and I've read a bit about it. But anyway, I'm going to take it apart. So I thought I'd make a video. I do actually record a great deal more than I post. I guess I just get more infused by the doing than I do of the video making, but this time, because there's nothing else out there, I thought it would be worth doing. So first thing I'm going to do is put these into the rest position and measure the spot. So that is right on the edge there. I'm going to measure that spot. I'm going to measure the distance from there to there, and I'm going to mark them left and right, and then I'm going to take them off by removing that bolt and just pulling them off. Then I believe I've got to remove that bolt and that bolt, and then this should lift up and reveal what's underneath. So the top one came off with a 13mm, and it was hand loose, and this one's hand loose as well. I think it's, I don't know what. Okay, so here it is. These bits, of course, go through there. When they're through there, this bit hits the chrome, as does this bit, and on the other side, this bit hits the bulkhead. So it's really hard to get it out because it's bigger than the hole. So once you push these bits back through that hole, then they flop away, and you can do it. But it's not easy. I don't know how I'm going to get it. What I meant. This is the water supply. There's the electrical contact. It's pretty clean in here actually, but it's this bit here and this bit here that clashes with the arms, and then the motor sits in here. So I'll give this a bit of a. So there it is in the right orientation, I suppose. And this is all covered in the plastic. This was extremely tight here. This one couldn't move, and this one flopped around. So I wonder if that was restricting flow, but I guess I'm just going to unplug this, and now I'm going to go and look in Kirby's book, and just to record how it goes, it looks like that on the outside, and if we go inside, we've got an end piece, we've got a collar, that is a rubber bit that goes on the end. Same here. That little collar there is used so that it fits into this ridge and stays in place. There's the plate, there's the screws, and then there's these 10mm bolts. And that just, there's no thread there, that just. Okay, so I got the cover off, and I've cleaned up all the parts. I'm just sort of oiling those with a little bit of kind of fairly thick oil. I'll leave those to sit. And I found, well, I've known about this for a long time. There's a nice circuit diagram and there's sort of a 15-page write-up of this particular Lucas one. Ed's Jag. I'll put the link below. So it's got some pictures, got some diagrams, and an explanation of the plugs and all the circuitry. So I'm now going to remove that, take this off. Underneath here, there is a solenoid for the reverse parking, which is this component, and it interacts with something down there. There's a suggestion in this write-up that it gets greased up and stops working, which is what's happened to mine. You turn mine off and it won't park. It just stops mid-sweep. So I'm going to take this area off. I'm going to have a look in there and just try and free it all up. And there's also this red bit at the bottom of the arm, so it's always difficult to do with one hand. Everyone all over the world is making videos with one free hand. There it is. Don't forget that bit. Okay, that's the arrangement of circlip and 3 bolts that goes on there, and then this wheel falls out. Okay, recording how this goes in. There is a notch. It goes in that hole. There is this bit. It goes the convexed bit down, and it sits over the top. there is this bit. There's a notch there that lines with the notch just sort of there, so it goes in like, oh my goodness, this way. So now this plastic bit does not rotate, but that piece can rotate because it's being driven by that piece. As I was cleaning all this out, I scraped some grease from over there and discovered this little piece. I can't even pick it up because I've got these dumb gloves on. Where does it go? Okay, a little word of warning. So the micro switch there, or the switching mechanism, I put a screwdriver in there and twisted it. What I should have done is lifted it first, because there's a little pin of plastic there which comes out of that hole in the back corner there. Can't quite see it. Anyway, I broke off the pin, so you should lift this, release the pin from the hole, lift this, release that pin from the hole there, which I can't focus on, and then push it towards the camera. Okay, under the bonnet, looking at the location of the motor. So there is the plug with the 4 small pins on the top, the big ones at the bottom. That corresponds to this page 625 of Palm's book, and you can see how it's worked out. This is the colours of the wires inside the car, and it transitions to yellow, brown, white, green, and light red. Sorry, green and red. When it transitions to this wire and out the other end. And I was checking per this paragraph that all of these provide 12 volts, 12 volts, 12 volts when the stalk is set, and it all worked. The one thing that didn't work is BLG and OLG should be 0 impedance when off and in. Well, I found it to be so at in but not at off. So I'm a bit confused about that. Trying to reconcile that with the view of the plug, which is there, and then with this diagram also in Palm's book. So if you look at this diagram and you take these wires at the positions and you check the continuity to the end there, it all works out, and all the colours are hanging together, and it all works out with this as well, this being the control switch, the colour of the wires, right through to the motor there. So all good. Took that one out from the bottom. You can see the dirt on it, the rust on it. That doesn't bode well for what's inside there. So let's take a look at this. So again, so rusty. So rusty. So that's taken that out. Yes, I am going to give this a bit of a clean up. And I guess a little bit of oil. Is that what one does? I don't know. Something. So, let's take a look in here. So I cleaned that up a bit and I've smeared grease on it to give it some level of protection. Same there. Same with the bolts. I put the what's it called, this anti-seize stuff, which I put on everything that comes apart in this car. Now here's the problem. So there's the bushes. This one, the bottom one, the yellow one, is half broken. So that's not making a fantastic connection. I will examine these to see that the connection is good. I may even take it off and clean it up a bit. Those 3 nuts came off. 1, 2, 3. The wires enter into that little hole there through that little bit. And it's a bit mucky inside. I've cleaned it up a little bit. Obviously water's got in here at some point. So I'm just going to clean it up, grease that hole. I've sanded the hole out. I'm going to sort of clean those brushes a little bit and then put it back together and see how it runs. And that piece I found in the casing earlier fits nicely on. There is a key there and a line there, which I didn't notice when I took it apart, but it means the bolt holes in the bottom there run in between the magnets, which makes complete sense. So that's how it's going. Having tried this a couple of times, put that bit on first. Don't forget the little piece on the end. You got to hold the brushes out and slide it in, and it actually turns a lot easier with that piece in. Clearly without that piece in, the bushes were rubbing higher up and it wasn't so snug. This is going a lot smoother. Took me a couple of times to get that on, because of course as soon as you put the shell on, the rotor rises because of the magnet. So you put your thumb on the top of that, and then you lower this down so that the commuter doesn't shoot up out of the brushes. Okay, it's all back together. Let's see if it runs any better. And turn it on to slow. High. Not really. In fact, it's slowing down. Let's just see if this bit works. Okay, so the actuator's back in place. It's all plugged in. The wheel's in place. It feels really tight. Let's see what happens when I turn on slow. I think I actually put this mechanism in upside down just then, which is why it didn't sound right. It's amazing I didn't break it. So I put it back in without that mechanism just to see how quickly it runs and see where the strain is. So here it is coming back together. I put that one on, so you know how they go on because I've taken it off. These are all still pretty sharp, so I'm pretty happy with those. This spins fairly easily. Greased it up, put some oil in there, put it all back together, and I'm sort of putting it on the power as I go to make sure I've got enough oil in it and it's not under too much stress. So that's it pretty much back together. Got a couple of bolts to put in there. Got to put the straps on and put it back. I just tested it, and yeah, it's under load. I mean, it's a high friction mechanism. There's so much metal rubbing against metal. I don't know if I can do much about that, but anyway, it's better than it was. Okay, back at it. A couple of things I learned. I put these on the wrong way round, facing this way. First time, so I've taken those off. Actually taken them off twice now, but it's no biggie to take them off and put them back on again. But just so you know, these two are actually slightly different. I had them on the other way around, and the bolts don't align that well here. So I swapped them. They look really close when you compare them. They look really close. Mark them when you take them off because they go on a certain way. So that's how it goes back. The rubbers are really solid. I've got a bunch of them here. Okay, I didn't take enough pictures. I've had this off so many times. I didn't connect that up properly, and now I've put it all back on and it all fits, and I forgot to put this on, so I've got to take it off again. And it's a real bugger to get these in. It's a real tight fit. Got to do it again. Okay, that's what it's supposed to look like. Done it about 4 times. Don't forget to put the cowls in before you bolt this up. Don't forget to put that on before you put that on. Don't forget to put this on before you put that on. Don't forget to put these in before you tighten these up. They don't all line up, so just put these in loosely. It's kind of basic IKEA furniture lessons, but if you leave these loose you can get these in and then you can tighten them all up. Now I've got to put in that, plug that back in and plug that back in before I insert it, and we know that it doesn't fit because this bit sticks out too much and these bits stick out too much, so I don't know how this is going to go. So, good news! It's easy to get in. You put the motor under there first, and then you can get this bit under there, then you push the whole thing that way and you can get this bit in this end. The problem is, what I did, I snapped off the little screw. Let me show you. That little screw isn't metal all the way through, it's rubber, it's 35-year-old rubber, and now it's broken off. And that little metal screw holds the grill on, so I don't know what I'm going to do yet. I'm packing it in, I'm going to do it tomorrow. In this video, I took the arm off. This is the sequence. There's the arm that goes over that piece. There's a plastic piece with a recess on the back. Then there's this. Actually, that's not. That goes on the bottom, and then Oh, I'm trying to do this with greasy gloves, then that. Like that. Then that. But you'll see as you take this off, but it's good to know. Then a spring, then a big washer, then a circlip. 5 small washers and a smaller circlip. Okay, I'm going to try to capture this. I've glued this bit back on. I'm so hoping it's high enough. So I put it in, I put the motor under there, I slide the top of this over there without scratching the paint, and then I get this bit under here, then I come back and I get that bit under. That's the sequence. There. Bloody hell. Oh, have I broken that thing? I've fucking broken it. No, not completely. I think that would be fine. There. It's in. I think. This one's not quite on. I've got the wire wrapped around. It's this one and this one that should short, i.e. close between those two terminals in the off position, thus parking the blades, and that doesn't happen on mine, so my stalk stuff. Okay, so I got the stalk off. Read in the Palm book that the stalk is often the problem. These are about 150 new. I've seen you use one for 75. I've got to match up the part, but I want to take some pictures here. But just to let you know how to get into it, it's easier than you think. You got, this is the under scuttle, I suppose, of the. This is the underside. No, that's the top side. Here's the underside, 3 screws. Mine only had 1, but there are 2 others. You can see that they connect through. This is the top side. The back screw, that little bracket has a screw which goes into there. So once you've removed these screws from under here, you've got to reach in and get 1 more screw, and then it sort of threads out, and it's a little tight. But I would go very gently because the plastic's 35 years old. Back in position, I actually put them a little bit lower here so that they look parked when they just stopped. I'm assuming there's some kind of final lowering that takes place in all this, but maybe it just stops there and doesn't actually do a final lowering at the end of the cycle when you turn it off. Anyway, I need a new stalk, so that's what I'm going to do.